Now to the latest on the royal radio prank by a couple of Aussie DJs. The call was made last December by Mel Greig and Michael Christian, posing as the Queen and Prince Charles. They phoned the hospital where the Duchess of Cambridge was being treated for morning sickness. It resulted in the nurse who put that call through taking her own life. Scotland Yard has now passed its files to Australian counterparts, asking them to look at whether any local laws were broken. And Greig has filed a claim with the Fair Work Commission, accusing her employer, Austereo, of failing to maintain a safe workplace. Let's take a closer look at this case. Showbiz commentator Peter Ford is in Melbourne and workplace lawyer Sian Ryan is in Sydney. Good morning to you both.
G'day, Sam.
Good morning. Sian, let's start with the legal side to this. What's your take on it?
Sam, the way that it's been reported, it's certainly a very unusual, even creative use of one of these kinds of applications. This kind of court claim or action under the Fair Work Act requires a trigger, and that trigger is the making of a complaint. So ordinarily, if somebody makes a complaint about safety in the workplace or lack of safety in the workplace or about being underpaid, and then they are treated unfavourably because of that complaint, that would trigger this style of court application. The details of this application are scarce, of course, and it's still before the court, but one would have to infer that there's an allegation that there was a complaint made that this kind of activity or something about the workplace was unsafe, and that there's been some unfavourable treatment as a result of that. Sometimes dismissal, usually dismissal in these kinds of cases, although not necessarily.
OK. Peter, Mel Greig is still employed by Austereo. She hasn't returned to work since the ill-fated prank, as Michael Christian has done. What do you make of this?
Well, she's not returned to work by her own choice. She has been offered a number of opportunities, both on air and off air, and she's decided not to take those up because she didn't feel it was right for her. They weren't high profile enough. She wasn't in the right frame of mind to go back to work, whatever the reason was. So the opportunities have been there. She's chosen not to take them off. Look, Mel Greig is still a very young woman. She's a good broadcaster. She needs to move forward with her life. I want what's best for her in the short, the medium and the long term. I'm not convinced this is the right thing for her. It doesn't read well. It's messy. It looks as if she's got her hands out for cash or compo, and I don't think that does her in the long term any good. I hope she's going to be okay. This has opened her up to a whole new raft of criticism as a result of taking this course of action, both here and of course in England. She's a very fragile woman, and I think she really needs to move forward, and I hope that she's taking good advice to do so.
Yeah, well said. Sian, what are the next steps for this in terms of the Fair Work Commission?
Well, the Commission will call the parties in for a conciliation conference very early on. They do that very, very quickly in an attempt to resolve the matter. The good thing about these kinds of applications is that the possibilities for settlement are quite open-ended. Whilst most kinds of legal claims result in some kind of exchange of money, these kinds of claims really allow the parties to negotiate in an open-ended fashion. So there could be a negotiation about a return to work, about a conditional return to work, about the kind of work that's performed and the circumstances under which that's done. Conversely, there could of course be negotiations around a payment or a severance payment, but the Fair Work Commission will attempt a conciliation. If that conciliation is unsuccessful, then Ms Greig will have the option or opportunity at that point to commence formal court proceedings, which will go before a judge for determination.
Right. OK, it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Sian, Peter, thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks, Sam.
Pleasure.